Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 141 of the FReality Podcast. Grab a cup of tea and a nice biscuit and join us as we have a natter about the latest VR news. This week we'll be talking about a new VR Star Wars game in the works. The hype for the PS5 intensifies with an online event coming next week. We'll tell you how to make your own custom avatar in VRChat on the cheap. Then we have not one, but two new VR headsets to discuss. And then finally, Zim has some releases for you to look forward to next week. But before we kick off the show, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the week this week. Also, let us know what your highlight of the week has been this week in the chat. We always love to see what you've been up to. First up, this guy loves nothing more than to suit up, fire up the jets, and take to the skies. It's, of course, Iron Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm excited because today we're going to space again.
That's right. That's right. If you're not aware, SpaceX and NASA have got a space launch going on. And it's kind of interesting, right? This flight marks the first ever manned space launch by a private company and is the first crewed NASA launch in the US since 2011. Some fun facts for you there.
Well, also, they decided to push back the launch so that it would time right after the podcast. They wanted a couple of extra viewers.
That's true. That's true. So basically, we're going to do like a raid of their stream after this podcast. So everyone from this show goes onto their stream and raids it. That's what we're going to do. So don't worry, you won't miss the launch. We've got plenty of time. We've got like 2 hours until they're going to even start warming up those jets. So hope you enjoy the show. But you're all right, Nathie. What was your highlight this week in VR?
Yeah, so it wasn't Iron Man because that's something I played last week, but I did, jump back into Half-Life because they had an update, one that first I thought wasn't a necessary one, but when I then tried this update, I was like, yeah, okay, this is dang cool. This is like pretty legit. So what they did is they added liquid to every bottle in Half-Life. First, when you were holding a bottle in the game, you couldn't look through it. There was no liquid in there, right? I had no problem with it though. Like I never thought like, this sucks. But now you can look through every bottle and see what's in there, and it's so detailed. It's insane because if you hold a, let's say, wine bottle in the light, the light shines through it in such a beautiful and realistic way. And when you, for example, shake a bottle, you can see the bubbles going up. It's insane. It's insane. And someone worked on that for, a couple of days. And I've heard so many people say, like, this is the best, let's say, liquid bottle physics thing I've ever seen in any video game. But I think, the VR aspect adds to that because you can hold it and you can really shake it around. And I even saw people trolling the folks who use the 2D mod by saying like, yeah, you can't do this with your mouse and keyboard, But yeah, it's amazing. If you have Half-Life Alyx and you're interested, you should totally go back in and just check it out. It's really
And are they different levels in each bottle, or is it also always the same amount of liquid that is in each bottle?
No. It's the same. Although they're like, I've seen some videos of just beer bottles and wine bottles, but there are also these I don't know how you call them. You usually put them on like in the office, like those water machines.
Water cooler. Water cooler gallon or whatever
the
you
gallon.
want to call that.
Like they even have gallons with water in there, so you can just throw it around and hear the water going nuts. I wonder,
cool.
Would this be something that they wanted to add anyways, but just didn't have enough time, or is this just I feel like Valve treats this as a hobby project too, where someone's like, oh wait, I have an idea, maybe we should do this too, and they just add it.
I think it's exactly like you just described. I think someone just come up with the idea and they said, yeah, sure. Because I think Valve is one of those open companies that anyone can come up with an idea because it doesn't have like a rank structure or anything like that. So anyone can come up with an idea, and it's kind of agreed on a majority vote, I think. So yeah, this is just a project that someone wanted to do, and they just said, yeah, go ahead and do it. But I think, like you said, it just adds that little extra bit to the game that just makes it super nice. And I also heard that if you want to check this out, you don't have to go through the whole game again. There's some mods actually in the workshop that just have bottles that you can play around with. And also they added a Jeff level, like test level, so to give people like a good sense of how a Jeff level should play out. So hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll see some levels with our good friend Jeff.
I think it's neat. The viscosity in the bottles looks a little bit different, but it could just be the volume of the containers. The beer looks properly appetizing. That's all I'll say. Looks
open
good.
a nice cold beer in Half-Life Alyx.
I think this is just a start, man. I think there are like a lot of other things that can be improved that you just didn't know that will be added later. Because if you look at the other Half-Life games, they sometimes did updates that no one even knew about. Plus the community, as you said, with the mods, they have been improving a lot of stuff, adding their own animations. Like I saw this week, someone who created zombies that can now just jump down from one spot to the other and surprise you. Well,
nice.
In the main game, the zombies are kind of restricted. They do follow you, but stop at a certain point. But people are like making the zombie smarter, and I think that can be used in the next game too. I think Valve is looking at the community and sees what they can learn from them and use that. So that's amazing, sharing knowledge and creativity.
Yeah, nice little highlight there. Some nice liquid physics.
Who I want to send to space? Jeff. He can join those guys if he wants.
Yeah, I'm totally down, because we was having a discussion about the show. About this like space launch before the show. I won't get into the bits that people are getting triggered about, but I was saying, because it would just cause chaos on the show, but I was saying that I would never go to space, but I would happily send Jeff to space. Like, he can do one, like he can go. I wouldn't be on there, but he can go for sure. But nice little recommendation there. Go back and check out Half-Life Alyx. Continually evolving that game. Can't wait to see what else happens in the future, because this is just the beginning, I'm sure. So next up, this guy likes to chuck on his leathers, jump on his chopper, and then cruise the mean streets of Los Santos. VR streamer, ZimTalk5. How you doing?
Yeah, good, Mike. Good. It's been thanks to Nathy for running the show last week. Appreciate that. For those of you who didn't know, because I didn't give the guys the clearance before the show to say it, but it was my wife's birthday, and as you know, my wife's heavily pregnant. We've got one on the way and 2 kids already, so it was going to be a 2 full weekend, and I'm glad I took the day because I absolutely needed it. Surprise went down well, and we found ourselves. It was funny because you guys had an episode very much talking about like room escape and stuff, and I know you're gonna talk on that a little bit later. But it was so bizarre because although I wasn't watching the show live later, I was like at the exact same time I was doing a room escape with my wife,
Nice.
which is like I'm gonna use that as my like little tip or highlight for the week, because it's something that like I enjoy. You guys know I really like room escapes, right? But this is like a tile-based board game, and it like basically you lay out an island, and the island is sinking, and it's a cooperative room escape game essentially. And so what you're doing is the game comes in a little tin. You lay out these tiles. And then as the game goes on, basically the island is sinking, and you can sandbag certain parts, and you're trying to like, Tomb Raider it, get to these 4 treasures, get everyone back into the chopper and get off the island. And it only runs for like 30 minutes. So for like, busy people, this is a really good little board game. And I saw it like highly recommended in a bunch of places. And so I thought, hey, that'll make a good birthday present. And so we ended up playing that. And even with our kids, it says ages like 10 and up, but there's no part of the game that you can't just kind of like talk kids through. So we played with a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and have played it like 4 or 5 times since. That's what it looks like. It comes in a tin. So if anyone's looking for an interesting board game with their with their families or whatever, and likes room escape stuff, where you don't have to like, there's another type of room escape board game where literally you're like cutting stuff up and they're like one-time use, and those are loads of fun. There's a cool German company called is it Koros? I can't remember their full name, but those are really good as well. If you're into like VR room escapes, but there really aren't that many, and you want some room escape action, but you can't go to a room escape place because of the current restrictions. I wonder how those places are going to fare after all of this. Then that's an option for you, And then,
nice.
As you said, I hopped into GTA 5 as well, which was interesting to say the least. But for those who don't know, the free version, if you managed to bag that on our recommendation recently, there is now an upgraded version of the script hook. It's literally a 3 to 5 minute install, super quick. And you can get into GTA 5 in VR on that freebie version that you just got given by the Epic Game Store. So that's what I did. And that was that game is so expansive, but it just makes me want like what Rowdy said to me ages ago, right? Like, you don't have the touch controls, and it's such a cool world. It's like I just want GTA 6 to have native VR support. It's just so good. We just spent time, as you said, like get on the back of a chopper, just literally like blip it through the hills of like California, and that kind of natural head motion and watching the scenery go by, even if you don't have hand interaction, it's just like really compelling. So
and you really needed hand interaction in that other scene, right, Zim?
Yeah, that surprised me too. Yeah, the stream directed me to the local strip club, and I didn't know you get so handsy.
Of course.
Let's say that video already got nuked.
Yeah.
But the previous one was funny because I picked up one of the ladies in the night, pulled into a dark alley, and I didn't know my wife was watching, and jumped in just at that moment. So as Zim got lucky, Zim got unlucky. Had a talking to after. So
nice,
perfect
so
timing.
Just quickly, what was the room escape board game that you recommended?
So the room escape board game was Forbidden Island.
Forbidden Island.
Yeah, there you go. Spelled like Forbidden.
Go check that out.
Island.
Nice. Good some solid recommendations there. Nice. And GTA, yeah, if you bagged it, go and try it out in VR if you can.
The one thing I'd say, just to caveat it, Mike, is I'd say, because people were asking me this, is it worth buying for like $25 to then get the VR add-on? I would say no.
Yeah,
I would say if you got it for free, that's worth it. And I certainly got probably 5 hours of gameplay out of it so far, and I will go back to it. But I wouldn't say, I'd say wait for another freebie, or if it was a tenner or less, then it'd be worth it.
During a sale or something. Yeah. Cool. So next up, this guy is now neck deep in fries, gravy, and cheese curds, truly adopting the Canadian spirit. It's Rowdy VR. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I've managed to settle down. My quarantine is ending next week on Wednesday evening. So from after that, I'll be able to at least go to the shop by myself. So that's a nice thing. It's been 2 weeks now since I've been into this quarantine. But no, I'm doing pretty all right. Like it's still middle of the day here, so it's a bit of a different situation to you guys, I guess. But I've enjoyed my fair bit of poutine already.
Yeah, tell us all about it, because that's probably that's got to be your highlight of the week, right? Because we basically pressured you to do it.
wait, hang on, Rowdy, did you not know about poutine before Mike said it?
No, but we have. It's not something similar, but it's something that is remotely similar to what poutine is. We don't have gravy on it, but we do have fries with cheese, and it's a Dutch thing as well. It's called kapsalon, and that's I really like that. But it does taste very different to that. I did like poutine, but I do prefer my own little.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking to me. For those who don't know, I know Rowdy has beat me to it, but I'm interested in and planning to move to Canada, but this thing has stopped me as well. But poutine is literally in my top 3 of the reasons why I'm personally moving to Canada. That stuff is gonna give me a heart attack one day.
Yeah. So it is really good though.
What was your highlight then? I'm curious. What beats poutine?
My highlight, exactly. It's more a recommendation than a highlight for all the tech hats like you guys and the ones that are watching, or people just generally interested in artificial intelligence, like deep learning, machine learning, reinforcement learning, and all those kind of things. There's a documentary that I started watching on YouTube, and it's called The Age of AI, The Age of Artificial Intelligence. And it's, I believe, a 9-episode series. It's about 4 to 5 months old. And it goes about like the current state of like technology in general, I would say, but then the benefit of artificial intelligence to that technology. They talk about prosthetic arms, virtual avatars, speech recognition, how are we going to go to space, how are we going to terraform Mars, and those kind of things are. I've only watched, I think, 3 episodes now, but the first one was the one that got me the most, because it's about a person who also did the facial animations for Avatar and for different Unreal games, I believe, as well. But his private concept, his private kind of research topic is that he wants to make a virtual avatar where you can actually interact with, that would be very interested in, for example, the elderly people who are lonely in general, to have some kind of interaction with a virtual avatar. And the creepy thing that he did, because it looks already very real, the creepy thing that he did, I think, was that he managed to make a virtual avatar of his 9-year-old daughter. And it looks unbelievably real, but he also managed to give her like a neural network brain and artificial muscles into her face. So he could literally like scare her and she would start crying, or he could like...
I'm scared now, Rowdy, only because of three simple facts. Carol's not with you. Last week, we talked about friend experiences, and now you're talking about AI-shaped faces of 9-year-old girls. So I know you're lonely, but your literature, you need to change that, dude.
Yeah. But it's a very good series. It's called The Age of AI, The Age of Artificial Intelligence, and it's really good. Just if you have a general interest in technology, I would say, not just specifically artificial intelligence. You also talk about prosthetics and prosthetic arms and those kind of things. So it's a highly recommended series from my end, and it's presented by Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr.
Nice.
So it's actually fairly. It's a YouTube Originals documentary.
Where's it from? Yeah. Like, is this like a Hollywood thing, or is this like a
YouTube Originals?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a concept from YouTube where they produce certain
very cool
subjects.
YouTube making YouTube videos.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because I know about the YouTube Red thing. I know I'm newer to the whole platform than you guys are, but like, is YouTube Originals like Netflix Originals essentially?
You didn't watch all the Scare PewDiePie series?
But that was only available on YouTube Red, I think.
It also got cancelled as well.
YouTube Originals is for everyone, and YouTube Red is for people with a subscription.
Yeah,
correct. That is called YouTube Red.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to check this one out because sounds really cool. I'm going to check this out. This is like bedtime viewing for me. I always get bored because my wife's normally asleep by like 10 o'clock, and I've got like 2 hours left in me, so that'll keep me entertained.
I thought you were watching your own videos in the evening.
That's true. That's true as well. You got to get those views in, right? Hit refresh. Watch it again. Watch the whole ad as well, by the way. Always. So this week, my highlight of the week this week has been Tetris Effect on the Quest.
Great choice. Yeah. Great choice, Mike.
I'd previously played it on PC when it released on the Epic Store, but it was really nice having it on the Quest, actually, because, now with the hot weather, it's getting warm up in here in the loft, so you can play it wherever you want in the house. And my favorite thing to do is just find a really nice comfy chair, put my legs up, and just sink back, put some headphones on, and just get completely absorbed by this game. Because, like, the combination of, like, the graphics, the music, the visuals, which are all in time with the music, it's almost like hypnotic. Like, it's almost like therapy for me. It's just so beautiful. Yep. So if you haven't checked out Tetris Effect, I'd highly recommend it. Also, like, the Quest port, they've done an amazing job because, like, it doesn't look that bad. It looks great, actually.
It was indistinguishable for me. I would agree with you, Mike. And it's funny because I've done a string of hypnotic type demonstrations. It's got almost the exact same effect. And the thing that's really admirable, I find, and I noticed it more this playthrough, was the variation in music. There's a lot of music genres in that game that I think people will not have listened to before. So when you're paying your ticket for entry to play this thing, you're actually paying for a pretty damn good soundtrack, which now is, I think, available for 10 quid, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. The original soundtrack just launched as well. Yeah.
It's so
if
cool.
you want to listen to it offline, you certainly can. But yeah, I look forward to like really going through the campaign on this one because I never finished it. So that's the plan.
Oh,
for
where
me
are you
continue.
stuck? Where are you stuck, Mike?
I'm not stuck anywhere. I've just been kind of like just taking my time with it and enjoying it, you know. So
He's
I'm looking
stuck.
forward to
He's
just going through
definitely
it.
stuck. He's definitely stuck.
I'm
He
stuck.
just doesn't want to say it.
I'm stuck on those lava guys. Jesus Christ, that's hard.
Lava guys.
They're
I keep an eye out
chanting
for
like
them.
when they start kicking in, the speed goes nuts, and I just like in an hour I couldn't clock the level. So if you haven't gotten to that yet, feck.
I look forward to the lava guys. I'll keep my beady little eyes out for them. But yeah, Tetris Effect on Quest, 2 big thumbs up from me. Just like I'd recommend that you play it with headphones. Just play it with headphones if you can. Yeah. That's the one tip. So let's see what the chat has been up to before we get any further, because they've been into some interesting stuff this week as well, I think.
Yep. So let's dive deeper down the rabbit hole, shall we? So we have Dave, who played Pro Put, or Putt, is it Putt?
Pro
Put?
Putt. Yeah.
Pro Putt, yeah.
It does sound cuter when I say Put, but
Pro
Putt.
Putt.
Okay, Pro Putt. The line, and also he checked out Gloomy Eyes. I do hear a lot of good stuff about that golf title.
Yeah,
It's the one that I
multiplayer.
talked about last time, right?
Yeah.
Is it mini golf or just like
Proper golf.
That's
Yeah.
proper golf. Mike, your mic. Sorry, not Mike. Nathy, your mic could go up a tick or two if you're able. People were saying, yeah, I'm just saying, or yeah, your proximity. There we go.
But yeah, it looks like a proper golf game. You know, a little bit arcadey, but fun. It looks like fun. You know, you can play it with a friend, which I like.
I think the best golf game is still the one on PlayStation VR. Everybody loves golf, I think.
Okay.
That's
that
like
one.
a really professional one. This is still kind of arcadey, but fun to play with friends. Then we have other Dave, or he's called more like Dave-O. It's kind of like the same thing. Who also played the same golf game, but also dove into Elixir and Waltz of the Wizard. Both of these titles are hand tracking experiences.
Yep.
Elixir is totally free, has been made by Facebook, Reality Studios, as far as I know. Hopefully we will see more from them. And Waltz of the Wizard, of course, is one that you can also try, but you do need to pay for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. If you want to try the hand tracking stuff at least. Then we have Chris Richardson, who also marveled into Elixir and watched Mr. Robot in big screen. Also, hello to everyone
Nice combo.
in big screen right now watching us.
Mm.
Then we have Victor Riddle, who has been playing Wolf and the Walls, Vader, and Alex. And he's like looking at the way they did the narrative scenes. So he's kind of on this, research thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I also want to give a quick shout out because someone mentioned The Line. I checked that out as well. Small, interactive story, hand tracking, made by the team at Avaray who did Pixel Rift. Really nice, charming little story. Relatively short. You probably won't want to watch it again, but I thought it was really well done. Just want to say that.
Cool. Then we have Silver, who tried some Half-Life Alex mods, tried 11, Pavlov, Wilson's Heart, and also some poker in VR. Wilson's Heart is like this hidden gem nowadays that has been buried under all the other stuff on the Oculus store. So maybe you want to look that one up. It's in black and white. It's a horror experience. In terms of mechanics, might be a little bit out of date now, but the story
is crazy,
and the way everything looks is pretty awesome. So
yeah. And there's one thing in that game, there's one thing that happens later on in the game that I've never seen done again in VR since, and I won't spoil it for anyone that wants to check it out, but it's very well done indeed.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Beat the game.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay, yeah, tell me later. I'm curious.
Yeah, so that is what people have been up to this week. Before we get into the news, I just want to say thanks again to the sponsor of this week's show, and that is Synth Riders. Now, Synth Riders is a unique VR rhythm game from the fine folks over at Kluge Interactive. And what sets Synth Riders apart from other VR music rhythm games is that the way it makes you move. You actually feel like you're dancing, cutting some epic shapes as you work your way through the game's 30-plus music tracks. Synth Riders is also unique in that it supports custom tracks, has your fitness tracker integration, and cross-platform multiplayer where you can play with up to 10 other players cross-platform, which is totally awesome. Check out Synth Riders and the new Electro Swing DLC available now on Oculus Quest, Oculus Rift, Steam VR, and Viveport. Links to everything are in the description down below. Also, go follow Synth Riders VR on Twitter right now to be in for a chance to win some keys for the Quest version of the game. The winners will be picked at random and announced on Monday, so good luck to all of you out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so funny about Synth Riders. I mean, I heard you guys talking about them last week as well. And again, thanks for being our sponsor. Every time I think of Synth Riders, I think of two things. Number one, it's a fun-ass multiplayer game. And number two, I got beaten up by a Cosmos player playing Synth Riders. She was absolutely awesome. And I to this day, that wound still stings. So just thought I'd add that there. Sorry, Synth Riders, your name has been burned a little bit for me. But I am looking forward to checking out the new DLC soon.
Savage burn when you get beaten by a Cosmos player. That is.
I've been seeing it more in the wild. I don't get it. Where are they coming from? Who's buying these things?
Who knows?
It hurts me.
No one that watches our videos, that's for sure.
I sure hope not.
So let's get into the news. The first bit of news this week is really interesting news and exciting as well. It's from ILM X Lab, who announced a new virtual reality Star Wars game is in the works in collaboration with Oculus Studios. Now, the new game will be called Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, and the ILM X Lab team states that Tales from the Galaxy's Edge will give players the opportunity to live out their own adventure in an original story which takes place between the events in The Last Jedi and Rise of the Skywalker. The game will be set on the outskirts of the Black Spire outpost on planet Batuu, which is linked to Galaxy's Edge, the real-life attraction at Disneyland in California. I think Nathan's actually been there, right?
Yeah, no, when I heard this, I was
Batuu
like...
or to there?
Yeah, it's like, what?
He's been to Batuu, to the Black Spire outpost.
I have been to the outpost. I have also worked with the rebels to hack many things, such as the Millennium Falcon. Also, some carriers and stuff. Now, like, it's cool that Batuu is like this fictional planet, and in Disneyland you can actually visit it and ride the Millennium Falcon and do some other stuff. It has its own story to it, and it seems like they kind of want to with that game let people go deeper with that. And I think it's also a cross promotion between getting people to Disneyland, and so it's interesting to see what this is going to be all about. I think you guys would all agree that we want to have something more like it's a game, with what Mike played, a Jedi Fallen Order, where a proper story. Maybe that's a bit too ambitious, of course, but Vader Immortal was nice, but was more of a VR experience than anything else. And I think a game like a proper single player of like 6-7 hours would be nice.
Yeah, I wonder if this will be episodic as well, because all they say so far, because it's still early days, they just announced the development. They just said that it will have multiple styles of gameplay, iconic characters from the series, and you'll be able to explore part of a galaxy far, far away in virtual reality.
I'm excited about this, though.
That's what they say.
I think it's, if you see what they did with the original, the first, I think we all agree that if they would have all released the 3 ones at the same time, that we probably would have been a lot milder for the last 2 releases. But
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I do think that like Vader Immortal in itself was like it was a step for me in the right direction. It's still the kind of thing that I want in virtual reality. I want to experience the Star Wars universe in that kind of way. And I think that they're doing things that are already pretty cool, with like the Force push and the lightsabers, and so I am very curious to like how far they're gonna push this now. Of course, it will still be we'll still want more probably, but at the same time, I'm interested in seeing what is next.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is that they want to strike a balance between appeasing the VR hardcore players and new players that come in because it's Star Wars. And I think that's a difficult balance to strike. So, maybe they'll push the boundary a little bit further on this next one now that Vader Immortal has kind of established that. I hope so anyway. But it seems like the game will be coming out later on this year on Oculus platforms because it was made in collaboration with Oculus Studios. And then maybe like we've seen with the Vader Immortal series, will come to other platforms like PSVR in the future.
Cool.
The thing is, I think like what Rowdy's saying there, in terms of the next Star Wars game being a little bit more aggressive at trying to get people in, I would like to see, and this is where I think most of the spellcasting games have failed, is them to help work on the friction to like spellcasting / force powers, that aspect. If you can break that barrier, like what they do in Half-Life Alyx, as much as I don't like keep pulling that flute out of my bag and But I think that the grip that they solved basically stuff that's at floor height with current tracking solutions. That can be a problem to pick something up off of the ground by basically saying, just yank it towards you, like you've got, Spidey strings on it. And if they can approach the design of the force powers in that way and make them low friction and make you feel powerful, like I think Rowdy was saying when he was playing Control, then I think that combination would be a winning suite, and it would, even non-Star Wars fans would be attracted to it then.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point.
I didn't know that you had a flute in Half-Life, so again, something learned here on this podcast.
Yeah, but it's a really good point. Like it would lend itself well. A force pull, would work very well to use that mechanic from Half-Life because it's very nice, like you say, and you're not constantly bending over to pick something up off the floor. Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, it's something like Nathan was just talking about. The age of certain titles, right? Like already, Star Wars Vader Immortal is not an old game. But the force pull in Vader Immortal is not as good as the force pull in Half-Life Alyx.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's funny, but that's what happens with games, is they all beg, borrow, and steal, and I think that's got to happen in their next iteration.
But I feel like, Industrial Light and Magic are, still learning from how to make, how to go from an experience to a game, because they are, originally they're not really, developing stuff like that. So I think they're still, learning compared to Valve, who, has been making games for years. Something that I think could be interesting too is that they built this experience not just for home users, but they also let people play it at theme parks. I don't know if that's something they're looking into. They worked with The Void, so that's cool. So maybe this is not just for us, but also for people who go to Galaxy's Edge in real and can experience something there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would be awesome for sure. And if you want to fill the void with something in the meantime Star Wars related, I'd highly recommend you watch The Mandalorian, available on Disney Plus. I'm on my second viewing through it now, and even representing Mando on my t-shirt today. It's totally awesome. So go check it out.
I still want them to bring in one of the Jedi Knight games into VR. Like those were really fun, where you started off, you got your force powers, you had your FPS elements to it, and I'd love to see something like that come in.
Jedi was close. Jedi was very close to that. You leveled up a lot and unlocked new abilities as you went along, which was nice. I really liked that game.
I just want a new Just Dance with Han Solo.
You want to relive the Kinect days of riding Han Solo? Yeah. Nice. Riding solo.
Okay, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's move on.
Let's move.
Okay.
Next topic.
Yeah. Okay. So the next bit of news, again, some more exciting news. And that is that this week, the PlayStation official Twitter account announced a virtual event is being hosted on YouTube and on Twitch next week, where they're going to be showing off the games that will be launching with their new PS5 console later on this year. So this will be the first time we get a good look at what to expect from the launch lineup of the new console, which is awesome. But as of yet, Sony have been a bit quiet about their plans for the next PSVR headset, although we saw that tease with the hand tracking on the controllers, which looks very interesting. But hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, we'll get a glimpse of what we might expect in the future from PSVR 2, although I'm not holding my breath. I think it's probably going to be a focus on the console launch and the traditional games in this video, and probably we'll see some more tease about the PSVR 2 later after the console is launched. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think we'll get a little tease for PSVR in this showcase? Because it's going to be about over an hour long, they reckon.
At least a tease, right? I mean, they are the most invested out of all the consoles. Maybe also pretty much the only one, unless you consider the Nintendo Switch as well. But it would be. I kind of expect it a little bit, but I do know that with PlayStation, again, it's not a priority to show something off. But yeah, I hope so.
This is the event they do instead of E3, right?
Yep.
So this is the big moment to show something. Well, I mean, if they're ready for it, then yeah, they can do a small tease. At least announce that the PlayStation VR 2 is going to be a thing.
Yes.
Where it's maybe to just show a silhouette of a headset, not something major.
And I think we'd all be happy with that, right? Even if it was just as simple as that.
Yeah, like building up some hype. If they don't do that, I still think that some of the games they're going to show will have little VR demos to them, because we have seen PlayStation add VR demos to some games. So it could be that some of the games are like, this could have the potential to also have VR support. So that could be something, because we haven't seen Sony really or the developers diving into something that is more cross-platform. Like, for example, Tetris is cross-platform, where you can play it 2D, but you can also play it in VR. So it could be that they're going more into that scene too.
So check this out. What if, and this is like dream scenario here, so take this with a pinch of salt, but just imagine this, during the event, they announced that Half-Life Alyx is also coming to PS5 in VR.
Oh my god.
That's gonna happen. That is gonna happen. It is
going
coming
to
PlayStation VR 2. Yeah.
I think so eventually, yeah.
Yeah, it will.
I think that would be amazing. I think that would be incredible. If they announced that, I think the whole industry would go insane.
But how would that work for like motion controllers?
Well, they've got their own. They've got their own design, haven't they, with the finger tracking?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, I thought for the original PS.
Oh no. We're talking like a brand new headset.
Isn't it supposed to be backwards compatible?
Yeah, with older games, but just remember that it's unlikely that the new games will support the older headset, I would imagine, or if they do, in a very limited capacity, I would say. I think so. Anyway,
you do need to find a way to get people buying the new stuff. So I do get it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're interested, tune into the event. I'm going to be catching it live myself. It's on Thursday, the 4th of June at 1 p.m. US Pacific, 9 p.m. in the UK, and 10 p.m. in Europe. So go check it out. We can all share the hype together on Thursday. And of course, if anything's announced PSVR 2 related or anything like that, we'll talk about it on next week's show. So tune in. Yeah. So that is PS5 event Thursday. Put it in your diaries. Next bit of news. Something interesting I found this week that I thought was really cool, and I just wanted to share with you guys. And that is an avatar creator called Tafi. Now, Nathan and I have been exploring VRChat a little bit more just so recently. We went to like a rave in VRChat, which was a lot of fun. We also checked out the virtual market. And around this sort of time, I've really sort of thought, I really want a custom avatar, like something that looks like me, that I can use in VR and people just know it's me just by seeing the avatar. Talks like me, walks like me.
Walks like me.
Exactly. And I even got to the point where I thought I might actually hire someone to do like a professional job on this. But then I realized that it's actually going to be quite a bit of money, and I don't use VRChat that often, so it kind of be a bit of a waste. But then I saw Ben Lang from Road to VR do an article about avatar creation tools on his website, and I thought I'd check this one out. So this was called Tafi, and so my surprise, it actually worked really, really well. And I thought, this is actually really cool, very easy and simple, and I thought I'd share it with you. So how it works is that you go to the website, which is maketafi.com. You then sign up with your email address, and then you can download the desktop creation tool, which is on your PC. You then get into that, and then you literally got like an avatar creator where you can change hair, body shape, gender, clothes, accessory, everything you can imagine in an avatar creator. Most of the stuff is free, so if you wanted to, you could create a free avatar. Although, well, I say most of it. A limited stuff is free, so you could create a free avatar. Most of the stuff is actually paid for. You need,
but you are wearing clothes. You don't have to pay for that, or
you have free clothes. Yeah,
it's not like
you have free
you're
clothes.
In your underwear because it's free.
No, you don't go out naked if you don't have any money. But it is relatively cheap, and this is the great thing about it, because like, for a custom avatar for me that had some clothing that I liked, it had a full beard and everything else, was just $5. And I think, you could really make a really nice avatar for between $5 and $10, put it that way, which in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at custom avatars, is really, really cheap. And these like have full body movement, moving eyes and mouths when you talk. So pretty interactive.
Honestly, Mike, I think it's a missed opportunity for you. What you actually could have done is make one of the Half-Life scientists and go around VRChat
screaming at
people.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's my second avatar, because you got 2 slots. Okay. So once you've made your avatar, you link it to your VRChat account and just say upload, and it goes directly to your avatar, your VRChat account, which can be used on both PC and Quest. So they're Quest optimized. Which is really great as well.
That's really awesome. What is it, something that you have to then go into VRChat and kind of enable, or does that also push that option and kind of take it over already?
It's super simple. So once you've uploaded it to your VRChat account, as soon as you sign in, you go to avatars in your menu, and it's there already, and you just click on it, and that you become the avatar straight away.
So and why are there only 2 slots? Is there a reason for that, or you just need to purchase more?
I think you can only have 2 slots attached to your Tafi account to upload to VRChat. I don't think you can even buy any more slots. I think you can just have 2.
It's probably a limit that VRChat agreed with Tafi, I would imagine, so that you don't just... They're not dealing with like a spam of upload to their servers is what I'm thinking. That's probably...
Yeah. It's quite old as well. Like this Tafi application is actually quite old. It's been around for about a year or so. But apparently they've done some really nice updates just recently to make the UI and everything a bit slicker and the process a bit easier. But certainly, like half an hour you could create an avatar and then be using it in VRChat straight away, which is super nice. And like I said, $5 to buy some extra credits just to unlock some nice accessories or something. I think it's totally worth it.
There's a question. Yeah, I was going to say. Do you want to take it, Roddy? Go on.
Yeah, I was wondering myself as well, and I see that Jeffrey Goodman posted as well. Can I make an avatar of a spoon walking around saying, my spoon is too big? And I'm wondering as well, is this only like humanoid kind of characters? Or can you also, for example, I want a dog face, or I want this, or I want...
Yeah, so they're humanoid avatars. There's not any bananas or spoons, unfortunately. There are some like zombie skins for your avatars, which cost like credits, of course, and some other like alien-looking skins. But they're more humanoid looking, and I think they're more jacked up for having a more natural looking avatar that actually looks like you as a person, rather than you could go in there and dress up as a cat, if you wanted to, or like a broom with your Y-fronts on. You can do that already, so that's available for free through VRChat. But this is to have an avatar that looks more like you as a person.
That's weird though, because your avatar kind of looks like a humanoid with a potato head and a beard, and so you can.
That's what I look like in real life. Listen to the audio version. And they just nailed my description.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Also, good to mention is that we spoke about the virtual market before.
Yes.
With Bill, the community manager of VRChat.
Yes.
But they now have announced a virtual market for Oculus Quest owners.
Yes.
So
it's very true. Yeah, that's coming. I don't know if it's available now. It's coming soon, I think, right?
Soon, as far as I know.
Yeah.
We are slowly seeing the creation of the digital universe.
Yeah. So if you want an avatar to explore that universe, go and check out maketafi.com.
The cyberverse.
It's a super cheap way to have a custom avatar.
I think the main attraction for me isn't the cost; it's the time. Like for me, like going into those 3D modelers and stuff, and I did it back in the day. Like you step into VRChat and you're like, well, these bodies are just repurposed. They're not me. I want me, or I want my artistic impression on there. And so I even tried to dabble, and honestly after like 2 hours of dabbling in that stuff, I was like, I can't do this. It's going to take me 100 hours to do something half decent. So it's a very attractive solution. Do you know of any competitors to Tafi that are kind of like similar in their purpose?
And this is why I thought it was so interesting, because it's the first time I've seen something like this. And when we bumped into like Thrillseeker, for example, in VRChat that time, he was saying he paid like $60-$70 for his custom avatar. So there is markets you can obviously buy them, but I think it's just through the VRChat community, really.
Yeah. Well, there's artists, and this has been true since the inception. There are artists who will do you an avatar, but as you say, it's a custom job, and they're rigging and modeling that thing, animating it all for you. So this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, $5.
Awesome.
So that is maketafi.com.
TAFI, right?
TAFI. Yep, correct.
I like the name though. It's a nice name because, like, I don't know if you guys. This might be an American thing. Do you guys have taffy? Do you know what taffy is?
That's candy, right?
Yeah.
It's like salty fudge, isn't it?
Can be salty.
It'll pull your teeth out. I know that, right?
I'm the only one here who doesn't have a clue what you're talking about.
Taffy, TAFFY, is like an American treat. I don't know if it started in the States. I just know that they eat it, and it's usually like a long stringy thing. I'm trying to remember. It's not a refresher. I'm
if
trying
you've
to
got any fillings, then you're screwed, basically.
Yeah, it is one of those that will absolutely pop a filling or a crown off. So you do not eat that at generally our age.
Hasn't that been made by Oompa Loompas?
Probably made by Oompa Loompas. But yeah, it's like a stretchy, sticky taffy.
Watto UK says we just call it toffee.
There we go.
It's kind of similar.
It's not the same. It's not the same. There's more sugar content, and it's a different shape, but and usually bright colors that kids like. Anyway, there you go. Not taffy.
Welcome to the new food podcast, Dave the Psycho. But yeah, that is maketafi.com for your own avatar needs. So this next bit of news is surprising, actually, and I think this is really, really cool. Do any of you guys remember the game studio Microprose? Might be...
Yes, MechWarrior 2.
Okay.
MechWarrior, I think they did MechWarrior, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they were also the developers behind the original classic titles such as Civilization and XCOM. What was originally
they did XCOM.
Wow. It was originally called UFO...
Enemy Unknown?
Enemy Unknown. Yeah, well done. Yeah. So that they were behind that. And then sadly, the company kind of closed its doors many, many years ago. But recently, they've announced their return. And now the interesting thing is that alongside 3 tactical military games for flat screens, which was always kind of their jam, always kind of like World War II military stuff, they're also developing a VR game. Now, this new VR game will be called The Mighty Eighth. And the premise is super simple. You form part of a 10-person crew aboard a single B-17 or B-24 warplane during World War II, all working together to complete a roster of missions. So this sounds awesome. Wow. And this is how they describe it on the website. So dropping bombs on the right spot, guiding your crew through long drawn-out days or dark moonless nights, keeping your plane in touch with the rest of the squadron and HQ as you monitor radios and communications. Defend your flying fortress by keeping those enemy fighters away from you and your squadron mates. Pilot or co-pilot this beast under a massive amount of stress and enemy fire. But don't drop out of formation or you're a sitting duck.
Holy shit.
Sounds really cool.
You know what it reminds me of?
I do want them to still make like an XCOM kind of game in VR.
Yeah.
I've said that before as well. I think that would really work well with, the HQ and, you have like this nice like artificial overlay and like you can like work with that. And I still think that would be amazing as well. But this is, the studio itself has made a lot of great titles. So I do think that it's something that I'm interested in.
So they came up with this idea themselves, because usually this sounds like someone funded them. It's like, make a VR game for us, but they're like genuinely they want to do this themselves.
So they previously made B-17 Flying Fortress, which the Mighty Eighth, which had a previous a similar concept in that you work together as a team to complete missions. But this is like the VR version of that, basically. So it's kind of like a mix between like Star Trek Bridge Crew and like the Berlin Blitz experience that we tried from like VR Immersive Education, which was amazing, by the way. You should go and check it out. It's made
that's what I was going to say. That's what it reminds me of, Berlin Blitz, because it's an old school warplane. And it's that pseudo cockpit thing, which is really awesome because it's played against a BBC recording.
Exactly.
And it like, especially when they come back after the fight, when your man's singing, like you don't hear men sing in public a lot these days. You really don't. Not in that kind of like 1920s, 1940s sort of way. And that captured in VR is like one of the most immersive feelings. You feel his spirit of like, I could have died. I'm coming home. I'm going home to my kids and my wife, and that's just awesome to hear. So
yeah. That was, if you missed that was the Berlin Blitz VR experience from VR Immersive Education, made in collaboration with the BBC. Yeah. Incredible experience. I think it's free to check it out. But basically, having experienced that myself, it made me think of that straight away when I saw the idea for this game, and being like in that claustrophobic, cramped, like bucket in the sky, basically, that's practically falling apart, and is amazing that it's even in the sky in the first place, and then having to complete a mission that is important, for the greater good, and for fighting the war, and you want to survive, and you're having to work together with your colleagues, and I think that experience together with that kind of Star Trek Bridge Crew cooperative gameplay, I think it's going to be amazing, and I'm really excited about this.
It's like this is the first time where we see something historical that actually happened, that you can relive with your friends. And usually, Star Trek is science fiction. Yeah. Then we have other ones like Space Team and etc. who kind of do fill space that also do something similar. But this is like real stuff, and I think it will be so immersive that it's serious business.
Well, the fact that it's so it's historic, right? The fact that it's multiplayer stands it apart. Like historic.
That's new. That's a new
piece.
mix.
Yeah, because I was immediately, my brain was going, well, Nathy, there's Medal of Honor coming this year, but that's single player, right?
Plus, that's like throwing frying pans at German soldiers, and that isn't very accurate.
That fucking happened. You know how many people were taken out by frying pans? There are statistics. Those Germans keep great statistics, I'm telling you. Frying pans killed at least 7. At least 7.
But you're
That's
right,
why they lost the war. Because of the frying pan.
a game that kind of matches that intensity of like being in it together, and then historical as well because it all actually happened, and gives you that greater sense of respect for people that were around during that time, and I think it's an amazing mix because definitely, like you said, Zim, that Berlin Blitz experience really gives you like that kind of like spine-tingling experience that you're like, wow, this is incredible.
But it's weird. Like I always wondered, like as it was growing up, I was like, right, because my grandmother went through like a bombing in Italy, and the family across the road from her got blown up, all this kind of stuff, and she was telling me these stories, and I was always thinking, right, well, what's going to happen in my lifetime that's going to be like that? And unfortunately, the answer is this bloody pandemic, I think, is unfortunately taking that. And I don't know, maybe there's going to be other stuff coming. I'm not going to say anything. I'm knocking on wood here, guys. It's 2020. I'm not taking any chances. But as you said, the respect for what people went through and putting you in that seat, the same thing that those BBC VR specials, like the spacewalking one, the one where you're a refugee in a boat, like that is one of the most gripping, educational, and emotive immersions that you can have through VR. And I think if you've only been like blinders on, I'm a gamer and I only play games, go check some of these things out, please. Definitely. Because I think your heart will pound in a slightly different way after you've tried them. Yeah.
True.
Totally agree.
Also a hidden gem, Oogie.
Oogie, the ants one? The one with the ants and the beetles? He
brings this up. He loves this game.
Do you know what it feels like to be a beetle now?
It's funny though, like something...
Yeah.
Oh god.
Sorry. What's funny about that experience is that recently, because I covered that game on my channel, I actually got a copyright claim on that one after so many years. Yeah, I was kind of sad because it's a great one, that I want to share with you. Now there will be people in certain countries that can't
experience being a beetle in VR. Yeah. Sad times indeed.
No, but BBC stuff is like really legit. Just
definitely,
saying,
definitely, yeah.
Yep.
So this is, like I said at the beginning, this is coming from Microprose. They've recently sort of announced their return. They're also going to be bringing out this VR game called The Mighty Eighth, where you form part of a 10-person crew aboard a B-17 or B-24 World War II plane. Sounds totally awesome. I'm all for it. Can't wait to see more about this one. The final bit of news is a bit of a recap, or a bit of an update really from last week, as we talked about virtual reality room escape games. Sadly, Zim wasn't here, and I thought he's gonna really love this. It's totally his bag, as he mentioned at the beginning of the show. He played a room escape game this week as his highlight. But this is a room escape game in virtual reality for 4 players called Dr. Crumb's School for Disobedient Pets, and it's on the Oculus Quest right now. Will be coming to other headsets in the future. The really cool thing about this experience is that you actually go in together as a team, and it's a real-life person who plays the host and the main villain in the experience, giving you your tasks and providing a completely unique experience for each group that goes through. And you have to book a slot like any other real-life room escape experience online, and you have to turn up at a certain time together with your team, and it costs $100 between the 4 of you to go and experience this. So $25 each, around 40 minutes experience. And it's completely unique for each group, so that's why I thought it was really interesting. We actually managed to get a slot next week, the 4 of us. So we're going to go and try this out, the 4 of us, and we're going to talk about it on next week's show, all about it, our experience, and whether or not you should go and check it out yourself. So
will we survive? That's the question.
Will we make it through?
Yeah. Work together like
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to this.
It's going to be so chaotic. It's like, Mike, press the button. What are you doing?
This is the part where they realize that, like, just like I like games and I'm not very good at games, I like room escapes and I'm not really good at room escapes. Yeah. So you're going to be like, Sim, how do we get out of this? I'll be like, feck it if I know. Good luck.
Look to the
I'm
expert.
probably going to get angry.
Yeah. Well, it's rowdy.
Actually, hang
rowdy
on.
by name, rowdy by nature, right?
The only game that we've played room escape, Rowdy and me. We played the Corsair one with
Oh, yes.
I'm forgetting their name
Vertigo
now.
Games.
Vertigo Games,
Yeah.
which was really fun. And actually, Rowdy is a smart fella. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Well,
Didn't I mess it up at the end for you?
Yes, you did. I was going to save you.
Spoiler. Yeah. So if you want to check out this yourself with your own team, you can book your slot at adventurelab.fun. And that is...
People are asking in the chat, though, if we're going to be able to stream this as well, but that's not going to be
So we can't stream it. This is interesting, actually. They record a whole session of your playthrough, so you can watch it back from a third-person perspective. We will be able to share some bits of that, but they don't want to give any spoilers away, so maybe we can edit that down and upload it as a clip maybe to you guys so you can see some of the gameplay anyway, at least. So we'll keep you posted on that, but hopefully we'll have more information about that next week.
It's going to be fun. You can just do a podcast, just the audio track from that.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that would be cool too. Yeah.
Although there's probably going to be a lot of swearing, I'd imagine.
It would just be filled with spoilers, so you couldn't do that.
Yeah. So that is all the news so far. So now let's go into our hot topic this week, where we've not got one, but we've got 2 new VR headsets announced this week to talk about. Absolutely insane. So let's start with the most unusual one first. This is super weird. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this one, and that is the XRSpace Mova. So, unusual headset, comes from the ex-CEO of HTC, Peter Chow. The headset is standalone, so you'd kind of think that it might be competition for the Quest, because we've been talking about that for a long time on the show. When are we going to see a Quest competitor? But it doesn't seem that this is what the XRSpace team are looking for with this headset. Now, the specs on paper look very promising. It has a Snapdragon 845 processor, so a bit faster than Quest's 835 processor. It also has 6 gigabytes of RAM over the Oculus Quest's 4 gigabytes. It runs at 90 hertz, whereas the Quest runs at 72. It's also 100 grams lighter than the Quest, and also features Wi-Fi and, interestingly, 5G connectivity. Now, it does only have 2 front-facing cameras for 6 degrees of freedom inside-out tracking, whereas the Quest obviously has 4. And I do think it's quite unique in its design, which I think looks quite cool. It comes in both white and orange, which is interesting as well. But unlike the Quest, it seems that this headset is focusing on social VR over gaming. So this is where things get a little bit unusual. So primarily, they're going to be using hand tracking as the primary input for using this headset. So for navigating the UI and VR experiences, although it will ship with a single Oculus Go-like controller. So they're relying on hand tracking alone, which is pretty unique. And as we all know that have tried hand tracking on Quest, it works well and definitely better now than it did when it first launched, but it's still by no means perfect. So it's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off for a start. Then, and this makes the headset even crazier, I think, in my opinion, the headset will use its very own ecosystem, which is derived around a social platform called Manova. So this is, think of this like Sansa, Horizon, Second Life world that you boot into. Like it's a very own sort of oasis, very own metaverse. And in this metaverse, you can invite friends over to your home. You can go to your own personal cinema, like big screen. You can meet up and work together in a meeting room for like remote working and collaboration. Or you can just explore the city, which has its own nightclub and also loads of mini games. So what do you think of this? A headset that ships with its very own social platform that you're completely tied to, that is unknown and not tested yet, that no one has even ever heard of it up until this point.
It sounds like a nail in the coffin, to be honest, Mike. It sounds like, I mean, any headset that ships with kind of mandatory social software, I think the only parallel is the one that you guys liked, which is, when the Go shipped, Facebook had theirs, but it wasn't...
It wasn't in your face, though. It was there as an option, but wasn't as so, like...
You're not, like, booting into it. Like, I suppose the user flow is what I'm interested in this, but from the video and from the description, it sounds like you're baked into that ecosystem, and, hey, that's where you're going to be living.
Yep, that's what they're saying. Yeah, it's going to be baked in. So there's no... That's their ecosystem that they're pushing alongside with the hardware.
I'll tell you what it's like. It's like if you bought a pair of shoes... It's like those jumpers. It's like those jumpers that have... a collared shirt in it, but there isn't really a collared shirt. It's just a collar.
I love this analogy.
It's like that because I know the amount of analogies I make in this podcast. I don't know where it's coming from.
I love it.
But yeah, it's like do you always want to wear that jumper with that blue pop out collar? Probably not. Like Nathan, would you buy a pair of sneakers that had a forced pair of orange socks with it?
Nathan probably would, though. That's the difficult.
If it's orange, I mean, it still is a Dutch guy, yeah. So
yeah, he's in.
They wear orange socks anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange choice to be tied to their own platform. But I suppose that's their whole mentality from the beginning. But the thing is, it looks like they're targeting the social aspect rather than gamers with this headset.
That's the interesting part, because we have recommended headsets like the Go and the Quest and some others for sometimes entertainment purposes only, where people say like, I just want to watch some Netflix. I don't play games. I just want to do that. And I think the social part with the Netflixing and with is actually very, very interesting. Something that people want. Plus, you know, as you said, like with hand tracking, it will be the easiest way to get into VR. So this will target a way bigger group than before. It's just that since you're saying that this is a guy who came from HTC, I think the Asian market will love this stuff, you know, to be in this social world. But I think there's a lot of potential here. As you said, Facebook Horizon is coming, but there are people who only want to use VR just for the social aspect. And if this platform is really good and legit, then it doesn't really matter that there's only one thing running on it, because that's the only thing you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like people having a computer to always go on Facebook to talk to their friends. They only have it for Facebook. So
I think the unusual thing is here that it doesn't have a track record of being a social platform. Like it's like say if Sanzar had launched this headset, for example, well, at least they would have some history of, they've been a social platform on VR for years and they've learned all these lessons.
I think I partly agree, or for the most part agree with Nate, but the problem that I'm having, and I think that's the crucial phrase that Nate said as well, is like, if it's good. And I think that is the issue, that we don't know whether this will be good. But when I look at the trailer, you know, it's a great trailer. It's fantastic. But the thing I'm getting a little bit like what I like to call like the magic leap effect. You know, how does this ever going to work? I see people dancing. I see people. I mean, as far as I know, hand tracking doesn't mean feet tracking. If you don't have a controller, how are you walking forward? Like, how is that going to be implemented?
Fortnite button push. Yeah, it's an emote.
Yeah, it's gonna be emotes, and then I'm already like, meh. I'm far less interested. And the interactions that they're showing, they're awesome, but I still don't see how this would all work in you know, using the technology that they have suggested.
Yeah.
So it is 6 degrees of freedom, because there was a little bit of confusion in the chat.
Yep.
It's a 6 degrees of freedom headset, right? But it just doesn't come with any controllers.
Well, it comes with a controller, but it's like an Oculus Go style controller.
Okay, so that's what they're using to move forward and backwards.
Well, they're saying primarily hand tracking, so I guess it would be gesture based. So they want you to use your hands rather than
tracking.
That's even worse then.
Single hand tracking, gesture based.
No. So they want you to use both your hands, obviously, but the Go style controller is in the box if you want to use it. But going into more detail,
I think the remote would be more for if you're watching maybe a movie and you want to kind of scroll through it. You don't want to use your hands.
Or just button interactions, right? So they're doing that blend. No one's done that yet, actually, aside from the Quest, right? Which is done it the other way around. They gave you the controller and then brought the hand tracking.
I would treat this with a huge maybe. A huge maybe.
Yeah. Well, there is some other interesting things about this headset, and that is that it supports 5G, like I mentioned at the beginning. So it could open up the headset to very sort of low latency streaming and cloud computing as well. But the thing is, it could have also been great for streaming Steam VR content, like the Quest can now. But sadly, it just doesn't come with any like 6 degrees of freedom controllers, like both controllers. So
that's the thing. This is like very low entry level. If you look at the concept, this is gonna be super easy to get into. If you because controllers makes it difficult straight away if you add that to the mix. But
you block off a big potential market there if you don't ship with those controllers, and it's unclear if they're ever going to support.
On the other side, I think the market, the people who are not able to use controllers, bigger than the market people who do understand how to use a controller.
Okay, let me tell you some more details and see if you still think the same way about it. Well, there is a price. So it will also ship with some games as well as just this social platform. Like obviously the social platform is like the lift-off part. You know, you boot into that as soon as you put the headset on. But you can go and check out games if you want. So games like Cloudlands 2 and Angry Birds are kind of like games like touted for the launch of this headset. But again, very sort of casual games, no sort of games that we've got like on Quest, for example, or from Steam VR. It's coming out at the end of the year, it seems, and it's going to be $599. So it's $200 more than the Quest, and the Quest can do pretty much everything that this can do and more and has the ability to play proper games and Steam VR.
Sounds like a nice
and
idea.
has its own social platform, which will be Horizon.
Because they're pushing a social platform, it would make more sense to get as many people on that platform as possible. So eventually, I would assume that they would try to get that platform on the Oculus Quest as well, correct?
But this is the weird thing. You'd think that, right? So you'd have Mova on other platforms, but it doesn't seem that way. It seems like it's locked to this single headset. So, or even if they want to be on other platforms, maybe Oculus are like, yeah, whatever. We've got our own coming.
They're not gonna do that.
Yeah,
they're not gonna allow them on there.
So yeah, it's a very, like, when I first saw this, I was really confused at who this is for and why this even exists to a certain degree, and I still kind of feel the same way about it. And although I think it's an interesting concept, I think it's kind of destined for failure in my eyes. But again, I'm happy to be surprised if it's not.
But again, I do like the ambitiousness of the social platform. Like, if you look at the trailer, if they can integrate all of those things and they do it right and it looks good, then I'm all for it.
But this comes down to like Android and iPhone thing again. Like, say we're all got Quests. Me, Nathan, and Zim are all having fun in Horizon together. Oh, there's Rowdy over there in Manova. We can't play with you with your own headset that you can only play Manova with, and our headset that can only play Horizons with. It's very.
But on the other side, it's the same thing. If you don't own something Oculus, then you can't use Facebook Horizons either.
No, I agree.
It will support other headsets too. So,
but this is what I mean.
But that's the ecosystem.
Android support is huge, and the iPhone support is huge. So you have two huge user bases that both can live on their own. But with, how is it called? Minerva, yeah. I don't even know the name. That says enough. Like, they don't have a user base, at least to my knowledge that I know of at the moment. So they need to start literally from zero. While the Quest has a huge advantage in that.
But everyone who makes a headset right now needs to start from scratch. There's almost no one who has a leap like Facebook has now for years. That's the thing we said last week, because the competition has been so high. If you want to start up right now, it's going to be hard to. So you create your own, and that's what they did. They create their own social. Have you ever heard about a VR headset that only does social? Because all of the other headsets, every time they try to target everything, it's gaming. Gaming is out of the question here. Mainly, it's about socializing.
Yeah. So
that's different.
The way I see it, in terms of Nathan's kind of stance and pitch on this one, is: do you remember those phones that came out like after Nokia kind of fell apart to some extent, and they lost the market share? There were these phones, I can't remember the brand of them, that were kind of large with big numbers and big buttons that, you could go to grandma and say, here, have a phone, because she didn't want the complexity of all the apps and all that stuff. Something in the VR space that can do that has a market. And I think that, to Nathan's analogy there, like if the shoe fits, right? Like you can sell these, because it's like, okay, Timmy wants to meet with grandma, but now we're all stuck at home, or I can't travel to grandma, so here, give them each a headset and they can socialize.
It has to come with like some crazy kind of like a loan-based model or something. You loan the headset and then you pay a monthly fee to get access to the platform. And if you cancel your subscription, you need to send the headset back. Something like I don't know, I'm just saying something, but something like that would work better, I think, than paying $599 for a platform that you're investing in. And you have no idea what was going to come of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. The loan model's a good idea. If they can clear the physical, I'm sweating into the headset barrier somehow and get me comfortable with using another headset, they could totally do that. And
I just think that we're too used to platforms who offer us everything. And this is a concept that just makes a unit do one thing that people really want to do, and the rest is not relevant to those people. And there's a big group out there who wants to just socialize, and that's it. So you don't need all these headsets to do that, because they do more than that, and it comes a prize with that, of course. And this one just does one thing. It's very simple. So if grandma wants to get into VR and meet up with someone else, it's just simple to get in there. And I feel like with other headsets, since they are focused on everything on the market, gaming, social, everything.
But we don't know yet if it's going to be simple.
No, we don't know.
No, but we're saying there's
an approach that you see here with hand tracking, first of all, already hints towards we want to make it very easy for people to get in there. Plus, it just does one thing. That's it. You can just socialize.
All I wonder, though, is like poor grandma. Poor grandma. She's gonna end up joining either VRChat or Rec Room, because all of our current social platforms have devolved to that. And is she gonna understand that twerking isn't a kind of handshake? Maybe it is.
I was just hoping for a standalone VR headset that would do everything, although this is something I never thought of, a machine that just does that one thing.
It's an interesting model.
It's very unique.
And maybe
if it only does one thing.
But maybe we could you can hack into it if it has a certain, and you can just play Steam on it and other stuff. I mean, the community
my grandma
is very
can't
smart.
do that.
Although the price is high compared to its competition, I do think it's fair if you think about the engineering cost to build the headset and what they're going to require to push it. So if it was $1,000, it would be a no-go. Where it's sitting, I mean, I'm not going to buy one at that price. I have no interest. Like you, Mike, I mean, it's costing 50% more than a Quest out of the box. I'd rather pick up another Quest because it can do 100 things, But
yeah, and that's the thing.
It's
like,
a Pico problem.
Although I find the headset unusual, I'm glad that it exists. I'm glad that there's other people out there, trying these things. I wish them the best of luck. It'll be interesting to track how this thing performs coming out at the end of the year. So, obviously we'll keep you updated on the show to see what happens with it. So we'll go from there.
Even that Lenovo Star Wars headset does 3 things. This only does 1 thing.
It has a social platform. You can play games on it. You can also play games on it, but
I'm
very
messing. Sorry.
Casual ones. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting indeed. Yeah. So that is the XRSpace Mova coming out at the end of the year for $599.
Someone is asking, has Mike backed it?
No. Not this one.
Buy it, then go get it.
So that means you probably should buy it. Oh, you should buy one.
If you back it, then it's a bad sign.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk about another headset, because this is the second headset that was announced this week, and that is also $599. But personally, I'm more excited about this one than the Mova, and that is the HP Reverb G2. So this is the second generation Reverb PC-based Windows mixed reality headset, made by HP in collaboration with both Microsoft and Valve. And this is the interesting thing, like this collaboration between Microsoft and Valve, we haven't seen that before, certainly from the Windows mixed reality platform. So spec-wise, it's very similar on paper to its predecessor, the original Reverb, as it has two 2160 by 2160 pixels per eye LCD panels, and these run at 90 Hz with 114 degrees field of view. So pretty much identical specs on paper. The only difference is that this new headset, the G2, will have newly designed LCD panels, which HP claim has better contrast, better brightness, and less mirror effect when you're wearing the headset.
Nice.
The headset will also have new lenses, which have been designed by Valve. So this is where Valve comes into the partnership, the collaboration. So these lenses, they're not the same as the Index. They're not stacked like the Index lenses, and they're not canted out slightly like the Index lenses. The Index lenses, if you didn't know, are like 5 degrees canted outwards or inwards, to increase the field of view to that 130 degrees.
Yep.
But this headset doesn't have that. It's just traditional Fresnel lenses, but they're designed by Valve to work with these new LCD displays. The headset will also have 4 inside-out tracking cameras, 2 on the front, 1 on either side, which is a step up from the previous Windows MR standard of just 2 front-facing cameras, which were on all the previous Windows MR headsets. So this is kind of like the first official, proper second-gen headset we've seen from the Windows MR range, which is exciting. It comes with a 6 meter.
The Rift S is also an MR headset.
Not a Windows MR headset. It's not.
Yeah, he did say Windows
it's a
MR.
hybrid, right?
It's not like a proper Windows MR headset, like you boot up into Cliff House.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
but it's from Lenovo, so.
From Lenovo, yeah, that's true.
First one.
Yeah. So this headset comes with a 6 meter cable out the box with DisplayPort and USB-C for power. If you don't have a USB-C port on your PC that can provide enough power, then it does have a power brick as well. But interestingly, I think you'll be able to use the USB-C port on the Virtual Link connector to power it at least. Like, it won't be the all-in-one Virtual Link cable that we want, because you'll still need to use DisplayPort, but it'll power it at least from your PC.
You've lost me there. So what was this point about the power? Is there another cable going to the headset? Sorry, I didn't catch you there. What?
2 cables. So one cable from the headset that splits into DisplayPort and USB-C. DisplayPort is like your image, and USB-C is power.
Got it.
And you know.
So if you don't have USB-C, you can break out to the breakout box to your mains or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It will also ship with newly designed controllers, which do away with the original Windows MR controller design, which had trackpads and thumbsticks. This one just retains the thumbsticks and will add A, B, X, Y buttons and an analog grip button. So basically, you're getting more in line with what Valve are offering and what Oculus are offering with the touch controllers and the index controllers now, which I think developers must be really happy about, that we're getting almost to the point where we just got one sort of input design, although there are some differences amongst them, but we're getting parity at least. Close.
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll still have that kind of funny ring tracking. They're not breaking away from the Windows MR, so it'll look like it, but the top of the game controller or headset controller.
Not only that, also the handle, like everything around it seems to be the same. So ergonomic wise, it's not.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really interesting upgrade.
Yeah, so it's, like you said, it uses the ring tracking system as the previous Windows MR systems. So the thing is, like, it worked all right on the previous Windows MR range with the two front-facing headsets, but when you took the controller behind your head, it kind of lost tracking a little bit.
Yeah.
But now with the additional cameras, it should help with that, and it's got like a much wider tracking volume now. But we're still limited to the tech that are in these controllers, and they do eat through batteries like nobody's business. So that's the one thing I'm really concerned about, this headset package in total, because the battery life generally, they take 2 AA's each, these controllers, and they generally last between 4 to 5 hours gameplay.
I'll tell you what, chat Chris Richardson just said, this is your racing headset, Zim. And I think that's true, because the other ones haven't stood out enough for me to want to have a racing-only headset. But this, for $600...
Yeah, well, HP said that the Reverb predominantly was sold through sim enthusiasts, that were into sim, like driving and racing, flying and racing, because of the high resolution of the headset. But whereas now, this headset is aimed at gamers predominantly, and business takes a backseat, although I'm sure they'll enjoy the features as well. But this is aimed at gamers, so that's why they're selling it on Steam. That's why they did this collaboration with Valve. So it's got better integration with Steam VR as well. And also, the other thing that they borrowed from Valve was the amazing audio. So exactly the same off-ear headphones that were on the Index are now on the HP Reverb G2 as well. And they're amazing, earphones. They sound perfect for gaming, and
I think
they
that
also
alone already makes it a very interesting headset, right?
Yeah. Well, the comfort factor of not having your ears covered. Again, I'll speak to when you're racing for 4 hours, is a material comfort factor. So then you're only down to basically the face ring being a comfortable pad against your face, and as you're, if your room's heating up because your box is heating or whatever, that's the only thing left. But it looks like a very comfortable headset in terms of its design. The audio solution looks good, so I would seriously consider this. The panel is a higher res, obviously, so...
Yep. Yeah, and talking about comfort, they use the face cushions and rear cushion. Like the back of the head strap very much looks like the Index, although it doesn't have the dial. It uses elastic and Velcro on the sides like the original CV1 Rift did. But it's using the same mottled grey material from the Index as well, which is like antimicrobial like fabric, which is very soft, but also like relatively hygienic as well, can be wiped clean. Although I would imagine accessories like VR cover will come out for this, because they've made the faceplate magnetic, just like the Index, so you can swap them in and out really easy.
But just like the Index, can you also bring your display closer to your eyes or further? So that's fixed.
That's fixed, yeah. So with the Index, you have like an eye relief dial that you can really put like the lenses so they practically touch your eyeballs. But no, that you don't have that with the Reverb G2. It's at a fixed
I do
position.
wonder, because they have inside-out tracking, but all the cameras on the lower end basically of the headset, right? I wonder how like that works if your hand, because you'll have occlusion always then if your hand goes above your head.
The way they dealt with that previously was that if it lost tracking, it was like held in place, and then as soon as it was a bit like with the Rift S now, as soon as it's reintroduced, it pops back. But it's just a question of how quickly that happens. Also, while we're talking about the tracking cameras, they did state that hand tracking wouldn't be supported. It isn't capable of that with these cameras.
It does have a see-through though.
So does have a pass-through mode, which is called
like flashlight.
Flashlight, yeah. So you can I think it's like a double tap on the controller, and then you can see into the real world with a flashlight using a controller. If and the funny thing is they've got this picture of like this couple like bringing pizza over as their kind of like advert for that. It's like, oh, the pizza's here.
It's very romantic. I like it.
Very romantic, yeah. But of course, this is a Windows MR headset after all, so you will still be booted into Microsoft CliffHouse, and then jump into Steam VR from there. But the interesting thing is, like we've talked about Oculus focusing on the Quest for such a long time now. Rift S has kind of been like the younger brother that no one really likes or cares about and is kind of left in the corner crying. And it seems like HP might be able to corner some of the market here, because with the parity with the controllers now that they're so similar, you will be able to use this headset with Revive to play Oculus exclusive titles, which people have done with Windows MR in the past. Yep. But they had to go through this horrible process of mapping the buttons to trackbad inputs, which was just horrendous and horrible.
In general, like the development has always been kind of lacking behind on certain games where you want to play it. It's like my controllers don't even, and it's like, oh, support comes in a month. Well, the game already launched. So I think with this, it's easier to kind of remap.
Yeah. So I think in many aspects, I think HP have obviously listened to what the community want and delivered in a way. The only thing is that we thought might happen with this collaboration with Valve was that it might incorporate Steam VR Lighthouse tracking, which it won't. It's just inside-out tracking only. Yeah. So that means no support for like Valve Index controllers or using base stations.
It is funny though, like this whole kind of like, I'm going to feed off the good positive kudos of not just Half-Life Alyx and Index's stuff. Like, let's take Valve's name and help sell our pretty decent headset. But to me still, the controllers is a weak point, like you mentioned. And for me, the one of the main reasons I canceled my Index order was the lenses. I was really unimpressed with the lens reflections. So the fact that they were designed by Valve, but aren't the exact same lenses, tell me one simple thing, which is I want to try this before I would buy it. But if I bought it, I would probably be setting the controllers to one side, or I would be looking for a secondhand model where some kid decided to destroy daddy or mommy's controllers on their new HP Reverb G2 VR headset and pick that up for cheap.
I think the reason why it's different is because with the first Reverb, they were very much focused on people who were doing visual stuff, architectural stuff and etc. So it was really about, the fidelity and how sharp things looked within VR. So I think that's kind of a remainer that lives on into this next headset, because even that they are more focused on gaming and this headset just screams gaming. As Mike said, this package is also good for the whole enterprise market. Maybe they don't need these speakers because a pair of headphones would do too, but I don't think they mind. I think they want to have this high-end stuff anyways.
Yeah, and one thing to talk about with the controllers is, and this is interesting as well, is that if you own an older Windows MR headset like the Samsung Odyssey, which is still a great headset, you can buy these controllers separately and upgrade to these nice new thumbstick controllers with the A, B, X, Y buttons, and probably still have that great experience using Revive and Steam VR with your old headset. So they're going to be sold separately, which is nice. Although one thing to note is that older controllers from the Windows MR range won't work with this new G2 headset, so you have to use these controllers.
It's I think the best sign we got from this is that HP really understands what the consumer wants. It's very, very accurate. Even I think the inside-out tracking, smart choice. Even that, I personally would have liked to use this with like a pair of Valve Index controllers or anything else than the ones they offer now. But it's a good package. It's just that price-wise, they can of course not really compete with Facebook, but still for $600. You get something really, really nice that works with, Steam. Of course, you have like the Microsoft, landing page, but you don't have to use that. And now you can also use Revive in a proper way. So it does everything that a PC VR enthusiast wants. And as you said, sim racing, flying, it's a great headset for that.
I do have again. One big issue with this headset. I have it with almost all of the headsets that are released, and maybe someone in the chat can give me a more like scientific explanation of to why that is. Not that I have an issue, but why this issue keeps on occurring. And I think it has to do with the positioning of the lenses. But again, it's the IPD distance. The IPD range for this headset is, I believe, 60 to 68.
That's right. Yep.
Which means
that's really tight.
That's very tight.
Isn't that tighter than the Go? That's tighter than the Go. The Go.
I don't know what it is for the Go.
Okay. The Go is a fixed IPD. Same with Rift S.
But I thought it went up to 70 something, 72 or something like that.
But is this a manual or a software based?
This is manual IPD adjustment slider, which is
but then again, there's no software implementation to go beyond that range either.
So not that we know of. Not that we know of yet.
But the thing that I have the problem with is that if you look at the average IPD for males, it's 64, which means that they basically went with a standard deviation of 3.6, because I looked it up before. So that means they went roughly 1 standard deviation above and 1 standard deviation below, which refers to roughly 70% of the males that will be able to use this headset.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit less, I would say, than 30% will not be able to use this headset optimally. And that's only for the males, because for the females, it's an even lower IPD. So it's an average, I believe, of 61.5.
And if you go 2 standard deviations, it would have been 95%. Why didn't they do that?
Exactly.
I don't know.
I don't understand that either.
That's right.
Yeah, you are right.
Like, try to increase that range.
It's a lens
so
cheat. I guarantee you it's an FOV and lens cheat. I mean, that's the reason you do it.
According to...
I'm guessing it's the space in between here with the nose that you can't push it further together or something like that.
Maybe. The Valve Index has an IPD range of 58 to 70, so that's the difference.
Yeah, 58 to 70, that's a huge,
so
huge
two millimeters either side.
Rowdy, you make a really good point on this, and it's something that we haven't had an expert on to talk about. I would be very interested if somebody, put their hand up and said, I'm an engineer, I design lenses, and I know all about this. To come and actually give a chat about it. I'd love to interview them and ask them these questions directly.
To talk about it, maybe. Yeah.
That would be fun.
But we know the specs are all great. Talking about it is all great. We'll only know if it's any good when we get our hands on it, because as we know with the Cosmos, again on paper that was all great until it launched, and then it was a bit of a hot mess when it launched. So
because this one, I don't know if we mentioned this already, is that it has a flip up too, just like the Cosmos. You can flip it up
in a way. So basically, Cosmos had a flip up front that flipped. So the hinge was on the head here, and it flipped up. But the problem I have with those designs is that you never get the headset snug up against your face like you can do with a proper head strap. So what they've done with this design is, instead of flipping the headset up, the actual head strap flips up 90 degrees from the pivot point on the headset. So it's not designed to be flipped up whilst you're wearing it. It's designed to flip up the head strap. So if you're developing a VR game, you can just hold the headset up to your face without the head strap being in the way or having to put it on.
It became more flexible than the previous one. So what I do think is interesting is that, let's say if the Vive Cosmos didn't fail and it was cheaper, then that was the headset people would have bought, because Vive has, of course, a more known name than HP in a way. Although this might change now with this headset, because I feel like this one, if it is good, will kind of take its place from the Cosmos, because as we said, the market is very saturated with headsets, but in the PC VR market, we have seen some new headsets, but they failed to deliver or didn't catch up with the hype. This one, Reverb had a pretty, has a good reputation already. So this could be kind of like, if you can't buy a Valve Index, if you don't have the money for that, if you kind of want to have some for sim racing, or you want to be more high end, then this could be an option too. If you don't want to use the Oculus platform, but you want to use Steam only, whatever, then this is it. Because as I said, price wise, it's of course hard to compete with a Rift S. But on the other side, it's a different company. It's not Facebook you're buying into. So
and if you think about it, this is $599, so $100 cheaper than the Cosmos. If you compare it like apples and pears to the Rift S, it's much higher resolution even the Valve Index at 2160 by 2160. It's also got inside-out tracking, although the Rift S has one more camera. Similar sort of controllers. It has manual IPD adjustment, way better audio. Probably better comfort due to the head strap as well. Because I
think this one has the best audio now of all the headsets. If you want to buy some for audio only, it's Index or this one.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So good.
I prefer this head strap as well, like baseball cap style design head straps. I prefer them over the Halo design, like the PSVR and Rift S. So I'm actually really excited about this. I'm pretty positive about this headset. I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out myself. Maybe this will be the headset that replaces my Rift S. As a go-to sort of headset of choice next to the sort of the Valve Index.
As I said, if you can deal with those controllers, it's fine. For me, the controllers is the only thing that I just don't. And controls are a very big part of the package. It's not just it's of course comfort, as you said, is major, but also controllers, because you have to play with these for 2-3 hours in a game, and then you can say battery life is a thing, but also how you hold those controllers. Is it nice to hold them for hours upon hours?
Their durability.
Playing shooters, playing certain like, do they fit? I think that they should have changed that, but hey.
I totally agree, because
the headset it's just like, the thing is, I just can't justify the headset only by saying, oh, it doesn't matter, just get a pair of, oh no, wait, it's inside out and it's only doing that one thing. As I said, if it would have been Lighthouse, then you could have said like, okay, it doesn't matter, I take the controllers, it's fine, now I can replace them with others, cool. But that's the thing, you're stuck with it and you can't go the other way around. And that sucks about this headset. It's a blessing, but it's also a curse just because of those freaking controllers.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I was very excited about the original Reverb, and then I got to try it and it had a very sort of small sweet spot. But this has got new lenses this time, so I'm optimistic that they fixed that.
Quality-wise, HP is really good, It's a really good company.
The thing is, I think if you're interested in this headset, then investing in some rechargeables is the only way. Otherwise, you're going to have to remortgage your house on batteries alone. So get some nice rechargeables, like the Panasonic Eneloops are the ones that I use for Rift S and Quest at the moment.
I guess if you have never tried Valve Index controllers or touch controllers, then you're not going to mind. But if you come from, let's say, touch controllers or index controllers and have to use these, that's a different story. So
because weight is going to be a factor as well, because they're going to be heavier with 2 AA's in each. It'll be interesting to see, and again, we'll wait to get our full hands on it before we sort of give our sort of final judgment on it. But so that's 2 new headsets coming.
Should be very happy. Actually.
Very happy new headsets coming.
It's good to have.
And the fact that they're very different, both these headsets are very different from each other, and they both serve a different purpose, I think. The XRSpace Mova, unique.
I think news-wise, we have really seen, like, every week, we're seeing so many different genres of news, like, oh, there's a new game coming. Oh, there's a new standalone headset coming. Oh, PC VR is also getting treated nicely. Oh, we got hand tracking. We see more,
diversity in
remote work apps. It's like across the board. Maybe it's also, of course, because of the pandemic. There's more attention to everything now, and you can make money of everything now too, since certain markets are sleeping. But it's nice. I'm very happy, and I'm curious what these 2 headsets will do, especially the standalone one, because it's a total new concept that could work or could fail.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the chat, by the way. We'd love to know what you guys think. I've been sort of keeping an eye on the comments. A bit of a mixed bag on both, to be honest, but I think that's always the case when it's just talking about specs and we're not actually got our hands on it yet.
It's our first proper orange headset anyway. Hey.
There you go.
I told you the colors would come. There's more coming, promise you.
Yeah. If orange is your bag, it's the only one to go for.
I'm still holding out on pink. Pink is going to be, like, as I said it before, there's a lot of girls out there who they want their pink stuff, and there's no pink headset yet.
Not only color, but also design-wise, it's total different. Like, most headsets look the same, but these are like different.
Like the Vive Pro McLaren edition with the little orange accent.
The thing is as well, like, the landscape could be changed as well by the time these headsets come, because, like, I think the Reverb G2 is shipping in fall, although you can pre-order it now, $599, although pre-orders are opening up to other countries in mid-June. But by the time this ships and this XRSpace headset ships, then we could already have another Quest. Or another headset from Oculus on our hands that trumps them even further. So who knows what the landscape is going to look like in another 3-4 months' time.
Hard to make a pre-order right now, I think, Mike. I think it'd be hard.
Very difficult. Very difficult. But that is the headsets for now. Now it's time to talk about releases. Let's talk about the games, because content is king after all. You could have all these fancy headsets, but they're just big paperweights without any games. So now let's pass it over to Zim for the releases for next week.
Who wants some releases? And thanks, Rowdy, and Mike. Yeah,
Nathan doesn't care.
He did it. And I just got I think it's T-55 to launch as well for those who are tracking the launch that's happening today.
Hurry up!
we got to wrap up at least in 55 minutes. Okay. So first game. This one is something that originally landed on, oddly enough, Viveport and Steam, and is not something that I'd seen before. I wonder if any of you have played it. It's called Awake Episode 1. And it's funny because 2 years later, there's still only one episode. This is $5.99 in pounds. And on the 28th of May, this dropped. So this is now available on Rift. And this is a weird one. This is a first-person cinematic VR thriller that blurs the line between memories, dreams, and reality. In essence, it's Uncanny Valley the game. So you're a new presence in the story of Harry, a man obsessed with solving a mysterious lucid dream. And it's an obsession that also costs him dearly. So I find this a really interesting, this kind of thing, an interesting thing. I know we've seen a couple of these like 15, 20, 30, 40 minute immersive cinematic experiences. This is one that has, it touts complex narrative and a Hollywood cast. So I don't know, like, have you guys had yet a compelling cinematic experience where they've done this kind of video capture with that level of detail, where it's like kind of human, but not really?
I think the closest I've come to it is like Lone Echo, you know, when you're interacting with, Olivia Rhodes, the captain, you know.
I've had that, but it wasn't in VR. I've said it already a couple of times. It was Control, where they actually used actually video in the game itself.
Right, yeah. I guess also the mocap in, I'm trying to think of the PSVR title, Mike, that you really liked, the London one.
Blood and Truth.
Blood and Truth.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really mocap, right? And facial animations. But there's been a few of these. Like, do you guys remember? I think it's Miguel Rodriguez or something like that, or Michelle Rodriguez starred in one. We had one with
John Travolta.
We had one with John Travolta. We had one with Nicolas Cage. These have not generally been very good. Like, they've
not aged well.
They're kind of
from the
they weren't even good from the
launched.
beginning. Like they dropped out of the womb, and it wasn't a pretty sight.
Supernatural kind of does it, you know. Also,
Supernatural does it.
You also
that's very good actually. Supernatural, like, although I don't, agree with the rest of the platform, the video capture and the volumetric photogrammetry or whatever it is, very good.
Another one that I can mention, since we're talking about space and stuff, anyways, is like the one with Buzz Aldrin, where you go to, I think, the moon, and he shows what they're working on. Is also kind of like this hologram style thing. And then I thought that was one of the first times I was like, whoa, this is so real. Was in the Arkham Batman.
Arkham is good too.
Those faces also look like super real.
You're gonna have to help me with the name, but I think there was a BBC Nature one where they full capped David Attenborough, a very famous nature commentator in the UK and globally, who also does like the Planet Earth series and stuff like that. Seeing him on a chair in a stool in like the British Museum or wherever it was they captured him was really compelling. So I thought that was another really good one. What about you, Ratty? Anything other than Control and the VR space that you found like that?
I think indeed, like what Mike said, like Lone Echo is probably the closest one for me that I've had in VR.
Yeah, I kind of wish they had that level of detail in Alien Isolation, and the next one they come. Also, the facial animation. I mean, not the xenomorph can back off. It can be like pixeled, like Dot in Pixel Rift. Just for all I care.
He could just be a black blob, and he would still be terrifying.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how close something comes towards you. If it's like a real face and it really comes into your personal bubble, then it's like super real. One that I should also mention is, of course, Half-Life Alyx to a certain degree. And Arctica 1. It's like these, kind of Unreal Engine looking.
Yeah, Arctica 1 is a good one, though. With Half-Life Alyx, like the human-to-human experience that you have are fairly limited, I would say.
Yeah, you don't come that close. But I always feel like if you're in VR and you come really close to a face that isn't normal, then you're really feeling that it's real and that you're like, oh god, what am I doing?
So,
and of course the dating simulator that I played.
Well, that's the one I wanted to mention, but I was like, maybe he's gonna cry when
this is an interesting suggestion. So Victor Riddell from the chat says Blade Runner Memory Lab.
That was so good.
That was actually really good.
That
as well.
was really good. Free as well, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, great suggestion. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's kind of like the difference between that one again is like this kind of scan of a person, and when you kind of look around it, you can see that they're kind of turning, but it's real enough when you stand in front of them. It's great. Yeah.
Actually, while I was preparing this week, I got Abduction is another game like that where you've got kind of a scan of a person and it's those humans. But Firmament is meant to launch this summer. I think it's meant to be July. So I've been keeping an eye on that one. So you'll hear about it from me for sure on here. Anyway, that was only number one. Let me move on because we've got rockets to get
Blade
to.
Blade Runner is, by the way, free. Just saying.
Which one is?
Download it. Blade Runner
2047.
43? 7? I don't know.
Sometime in the future.
Yeah.
All right.
51.
So next one here. Now you, ladies and gentlemen, like a bit of gore in your lives. Well, this game has been out again for quite a while. Tales of Glory launched now formally after a bunch of bug fixes and stuff from Blacktail Games. It's $30, £23. And Tales of Glory, to me, is the first VR game that I've seen, which is a fully featured medieval battle simulator. And although the trailer isn't all that convincing in some of the artifacts that it uses, you'll see in a minute what I mean. The scale of this, you've got like 40 different battlefields. You're fighting for the slaughter of your family to kind of defend them. And akin to kind of Mount and Blade or like a Game of Thrones VR simulator, this was really picking up on like physics-based melee combat fights. So if you're into this melee stuff, and this has been big in like flat gaming now for at least kind of 3 to 5 years, zombies are yesterday's thing and medieval fighting seem to be the current day, then Tales of Glory seems to have really gone through a pace of evolution. But it's got a kind of a Boneworks style jank to the combat. And as I said, the HUD elements to me are really unappealing. They're kind of flat colors and stuff like that. But the actual combat element, where you're soldiering up with a bunch of horses to a castle and, taking that down, as I said, if you really want to get your Game of Thrones thing on, then I think that Tales of Glory is something you should probably check out. It seems to be pretty well reviewed actually on Steam, although it started on bumpy roads in early access 2 years ago when it first launched. And this is available, Tales of Glory, since the 30th of May. So
I've played it as well, like a long time ago, and I think this is even back then, even though it was buggy and like a little bit janky, and it probably still is in some sort of way because it's also like it adheres to that kind of style. But I do think it's a great game, though. It really gives you that feeling of being on a battlefield with like a lot of troops, and you feel like, I remember that one scene where they also like shouting, and then they like ran towards the enemy. It's so epic to do that kind of stuff. Or like on your horse with like one of those, like, I don't know how they call it, like a stick or something, and you like impale people where you're like going on the horse like that. It feels freaking awesome to do that
joust.
in VR.
Yeah,
Is it like a mission?
Yeah.
Is it like a mission-based game or more like a sandbox?
Yeah, so it's more sandboxy, but it says, full physics, one versus many combat, many versus many, everything packed into a 30-hour sandbox campaign. So there is a kind of a free form to it, but you're trying to take down the other houses around this kind of map that you've got, and it's that immersion that I missed. I used to battle in a game called, I think it was Joust VR or something like that. And you would just ride over some bridges. You'd either have like a sword, your joust, like the long pole, and then you'd knock people's heads off with the joust pole. VR. And it was like one of the most like nausea-inducing things at the time, but I loved it. I really had a lot of fun with that. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, so sometimes you have these games that really limp through early access and still give, as you said, Rowdy, like a real compelling kind of immersive experience. And then once they come out, oftentimes we kind of ignore them because they've been out in the ecosystem for a long while. But this one I saw and I was like, you know what? That's something that would definitely get me interested. So I'm glad you played it before.
It's a great game. I really like that one. I really enjoyed it.
It just reminds me of that video that Josh Dub did where he was wearing the full green screen suit riding the horse. Yeah. He was like going like this, and then it just fades to green screen. It's just a man wearing a green suit.
That's got to be one of the best tweets of 2019, that one.
It was the best use of green screen I've ever seen in VR.
Yeah,
ever.
And this is the thing that and again, the reason I wanted to highlight this, I love bringing you guys stuff that's free. There is a demo available. So if you want to go get your ride on, then this is one which you can go try on Steam.
You should put on your green suit, Jim.
Yeah. What, try and reenact? I'll just do a redo of Josh Dub's tweet. Yeah,
of course.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, I've got a couple of trailers to run and a couple of mentions. Those were the two kind of main ones that I wanted to show off. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm going to give you the little play, but Nathi mentioned Elixir, as a couple of you have played this in chat. I got to play this week, and my God, it's probably one of the first like really compelling like hand tracking games on Quest, and there's a few of these now that I'm going to run trailers for just to kind of inspire you to go out and try this, because actually I think that now 5 months later hand tracking has kind of come out of its nest egg and now we're there. So Elixir basically is sorcery at your fingertips, brought to you by Facebook Labs, and the coolest part for me was, I think, closing a fist on one of these things and being Wolverine. That was like one of the most nifty elements in this. It's a free thing. You can go just download it. You guys have tinkered with this, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was great. Yeah. Really, really cool. It's one of those experiences that you just love to show people, like friends and family who have maybe never even tried VR before, chuck them in this and just watch their minds get absolutely blown. That's the best experience.
Yeah. And that's actually what I wrote down here was it's a perfect example of something that you can very easily demo to others. Quest tech and hand tracking, which I think will blow their minds a bit.
I think that's also because of the narrative thing going on. It's a very solid demo that has been made to get people into hand track. It was the introduction to hand tracking, I think, the official demo at Connect, and now it's also this is what you start with.
Exactly, and I think it's fantastic. There's another one that I got to tinker around with earlier in the week, which I just recommend. I don't have the video for it. It was called Surfaces, which was a HoloLens 2 experiment ported to Quest, and that one is available on SideQuest. So Surfaces is a hand tracking demo I would recommend. As I said, that was a HoloLens 2 demo that was brought over to Quest. And then there's a few others that we mentioned. Gloomy Eyes, that's got hand tracking as well. It's kind of you guys have seen it, but this is the one that was narrated by Colin Farrell. It's very much in the dark, very, very small dioramic display. And if you're looking for something that's like a Tim Burton-esque, I remember it being about 40 minutes in length, the segments of it. I think Mike and I both like this, and it's definitely one of those kind of one and done experiences. So mind that in terms of the cost, but it's like watching a little mini indie film. And Colin Farrell does an excellent job narrating it. He's not just in it for a little bit; he's basically in it with you throughout. So.
Yeah, and also The Line as well. I would also recommend that one. Very similar, little sort of diorama that you sort of overwatch. You also interact with it to a certain degree as well, but it's just a nice little charming little story from the team at Avray.
Plucked right off of my list. Nicely done, Mike.
Sorry,
and that one launched.
Sorry.
No, you're grand. So that was 22nd of May landing for Elixir, 28th of May for Gloomy Eyes, 28th of May for The Line. So these are all out and available. The Line, I'd say, is about half the length of Gloomy Eyes. It's about a 15 to 20 minute interactive story, and it's based on a scale model of 1940s Sao Paulo. So
very nice.
It's not one that I've done, so I will definitely take up your recommendation, Mike, and check that out myself. And then the final one in my list of little trailers here is what was a second here? Oh, I've missed it.
Like that sort of experience, I would say it's just one of those experiences that is good for the soul,
Oh,
yeah.
I think best of all is that you don't have to pay for your hands, so that part is already free. So, yeah.
There you go. So then I've got a little thing at the end here, which is a surprise because these guys can't bring me back after a week away without something. So we're gonna do a little trailer quiz here. We've done this once before, and this is where the pressure gets onto the lads, and they have to basically narrate a trailer that we're gonna run, a historic trailer. It's not a new game; it's an old game, and they may or may not have played it. So they're gonna have to guess along. First up's going to be Rowdy to the plate. And this game, these games, by the way, range, just so you can get your minds in the right kind of pocket, between 2015 and 2017. The order we're going to go in is we're going to go Rowdy, Mike, Nathan.
My brain.
Okay? And then your job is to narrate for our audio listeners. And if you get it, just say the name and keep narrating through. Each of these is a minute. I've given you a minute. If you don't get it in the minute, that's fine. We'll tell you what it is at the end. And chat, please play along. Guys who aren't speaking, just put your hand up for a second to say if you are confident you know what it is, just to add a little bit of pressure to the person in the guessing seat. All right?
You're not allowed to watch, and you're not allowed to look at the chat to cheat.
You can't chat cheat. That wouldn't be right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start off on this first one. I'm going to go ahead and run this and enjoy away. Let's see if Rowdy can guess this game from 2016.
Well, my feet are floating into space, breathtaking atmospheres and floating astronauts. No floor, no ceiling, just cold open space. From your lovely writers at Forbes. I'm floating still in space and crippling tense experience from IGN. Wow, a lot of people looked at this game. And now I'm going through... Oh, stuff is going down in space. Flowers, too. We have beautiful flowers and drifts. Is it a drift?
You got it. Yeah. We're running the trailer for a drift.
Stuff is breaking and flying towards my face. A picture of a young girl.
Not again, Rowdy. Please.
No more, please. Call the FBI.
Drift got me to believe in VR. CNET. Ladder going through my space station. Stuff is still exploding.
Okay, please stop this. This is
somebody gonna go and help me.
You got it right. The pain is over, please.
The pain is over.
The pain is
So, yeah, for those of you who haven't actually seen that before, it's called Adrift. And Adrift was like one of these games that was kind of like one of those AA or AAA experiences that then got VR support. Landed for Rift and Vive back in 2016 in July. And good job on you there, Rowdy, for checking it out. I actually played this again just to kind of torture my people who hate Adrift recently, and it actually still works very well. If you can handle gamepad, a gamepad game.
A gamepad game.
Yeah, a gamepad game and Newtonian physics drifting, which can be tough on the stomach. If you can handle those two things, it still looks pretty as hell. And it's a really nice sight for the eyes. And when you get out in space, you really feel quite exposed.
What are these guys doing right now? Are they making anything else?
I don't know.
Because when I see this trailer, the first thing that comes up in my mind is Adam Orth.
Yeah, so Adam,
I know this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he doing now?
So I've got a story about Adam Orth. So Adam Orth was the guy from Microsoft that when it was moving to an online-only platform, he was the one that said deal with it. Like everyone just need to deal with it. Like we're going online. Like stop being like cavemen. We're connected to the internet now. So basically, he got roasted for that. Had to leave Microsoft. Then he made this game, and then he was like, deal with it. Deal with the motion sickness, you noobs. Like you have to deal with it. He didn't actually say that, but that's what I thought he said internally anyway. And then he moved to the developers that made Firewall, and just as Firewall launched, he actually left. So I don't think he's part of any game development studio right now, but that is Adam Orth, who was part of this game's development.
It's like I know the guy better than the game.
Exactly. I love the look of this game, but I never could make it further than 10 minutes without wanting to hurl my ring up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I figured that Mike in that era would have not been able to handle it because you were a sensitive stomach. The one thing I would say about it is, just to warn anyone who goes, that's a pretty game, I'm going to go pick that up. It is incredibly slow-paced. Like, if you don't like games that are, like quoted as walking simulators, stay away from Adrift, okay? There are exciting bits, but otherwise I would stay away from it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, 2 more. Guess who's up to the plate next?
Me.
Main man, Mike. All right,
let's go.
Mike, here we go. This one.
Got this.
6th of February, 2019, launched on PSVR. 21st of September, 2017, launched for PC VR.
Okay.
What game is this? Okay. Introduction rolling. Here we go.
Oh, I know this is Zing.
He knows it straight off the bat. Mike is too good at this game.
Or Crossing, as Zim used to call it.
All right. Well, give me 30 seconds anyway in narration. Go on.
Okay,
Tell
so there's a
what
magical
you're seeing.
chest. It's snowing. It's cold. It's dark. Winter is officially arrived. You've got like mystical gates. You've got scrolls. If you like scrolls, then you'll love this one. PD loves this game. He wants me to play it all the time. I've only played like 10 minutes. But
is that in the quotation of the trailer?
It is, yeah. PD said I need to play this game. But it mixes like lots of different elements, like wind, fire, water, earth, stone. Cool little puzzle game apparently, but I haven't played it, so
not yet.
I have no idea.
Not yet.
Only 5 minutes worth anyway.
Well done.
Zing,
so that is Zing. Yeah, the Zing, the land beyond. If you, for the longest time,
I
was.
didn't get it right then. You just said Zing.
Shut up, Rowdy.
Sorry, Mike.
Shut up.
All right, and I've saved maybe the most challenging of the lot for Nathy.
He comes like he's gonna come with a trailer that is like 30 years old that I should be remembering, but I just don't know.
2015. Do you remember that year? 9th of July, 2015. This game landed, and I think that you will. I think you will recognize this one. I believe I saw you do a video on it. So now it's just a test of whether or not Nathy can stretch his imagination back to these particular railroad tracks.
Is this Vanishing of Ethan Carter?
Oh, boom, right out the gates. You got it.
I was thinking that as well.
Nice. Wow, that was...
You got it on the fucking railroad track.
Railroad. Oh, railroad. Chook, chook, chook.
I love the Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
We're suddenly in a different universe. We're traveling through the past. Oh, there's a man jumping away from a train. That was a close call. Ooh, spooky mansion. Ooh, spooky. Ooh, there's someone inside the mansion. He fell asleep. Oh, now we're back at the nightmare dreams. Ooh, and we see ghosts everywhere. It's like traveling through the past.
This is a nightmare dream for me.
Marty, we're going back to the future. There's a monster in the water. Oh my God, I'm scared. And now there's like a murderer on the loose. Oh,
so if there's any game developers out there who happen to watch the show and you want some narration over your next game trailer, you know who to contact.
Voice actor right here. No,
the best.
That's it. And this is a classic, man. Wow.
3 for 3. You guys, you see this? This is what VR veteran status gets you. This ability to recall VR games that quickly. Great job. So that was a drift, the space drifty one, very much like what the gentlemen in the pod sitting there now on the launch pad are about to do. We got Zing, which eventually PD you'll wear Mike down and he will have to play. And Nathi, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which is a story worth playing. And again, very, very pretty landscapes. You guys played this and enjoyed it. I could tell you were nodding along with it and saying like, oh, I remembered that one. Beautiful.
I never played this one. I never played this one. No.
It's weird though.
It's puzzly.
It's
it is
really
weird.
Story, and it's more like a thriller book than it is a thriller movie or a thriller game. It feels like you're going through a thriller book. It's really cool.
Interesting.
It's like these games you're mentioning are like really nice, but I guess it's hard for people nowadays to go back into those. It's the same with Adrift. It's like playing with a controller. My mind speaks in a way where it's like, yeah, dude, like that was like and still is pretty dang awesome. You know, it's same with Farpacks with a controller.
The nice thing,
but.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, and that's part of the reason I wanted to go check it out again. One thing to bear in mind, if you have touch controls and you decide to go play Adrift, it uses that kind of cut in half separated gamepad design, so you can play if you don't have a Xbox controller or similar controller. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. But gents, that is our trailer quiz. Thank you. You did very well for having no notice of that. And I think that's it for my little bit. So, gentlemen, thank you. 3 out of 3.
Thank you very much, Jim. That was Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Back to you, Jim.
Cheers, Jim.
You're
Next
welcome.
One. Thank you very much. So I think that's going to be the end of the show because I think we all want to go and see the rocket launch now and see what happens there. Don't know why I called him Jim. Back to you, Jim. But yeah, I just want to say thank you again to Synth Riders for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. We really appreciate that. We're looking forward to teaming up this week to do the VR escape room together, which we're going to report on next week's show. And hopefully we'll get some juicy news from Sony this week during their PS5 live stream, which is on Thursday. And again, we'll talk about that as well, hopefully next week, if we get any teasers from them. So we hope you all have an amazing week in VR. Enjoy the rocket launch. Fingers crossed it actually happens. We'll be watching it as well. And we'll catch you next week. So have a great week. Until then, take care.
Yeah. Jim.
Quickly, because we need to bring Nathi to a doctor.
Bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.
Jim out.
Jim.